So that's number 1 and 2, right? The sellers, the buyers. Number 3 is the properties themselves. The ideal kind of property is very simply the one for which there are the most potential interested buyers. In theory, any kind of property could be wholesale, right? I could call, there's about 3 wholesalers in Cincinnati who do as many deals as I do or more. And one of them called me a couple of years ago, and he was starting out pretending to chit-chat, but I knew he wanted something, because he does not call me a chit-chat. And he finally says, so do you have any buyers for a truck stop? And I said, no. Do you have any buyers for a truck stop? And he said, no, but I have one under contract. And I said, why? And he said, well, because it's a $1.1 million property, and I have it under contract for $800,000. I'll make $300,000 off this one deal. And I said, how do you know it's worth $1.1 million? I have no idea how to evaluate a truck stop. I'm pretty sure it's not with comps. And he tried to sell that thing for 8 or 9 months. He kept getting extension after extension after extension on it, and surprisingly, he was unable to find a buyer who was looking for a truck stop. I mean, that is a very specialized kind of property, right? That's not what we want. What we want is single families and small multifamilies, and by small, I mean 2 and 3 units. These are the kind of properties that 80% of the people out there who've got cash who are looking for a property are looking for. And yeah, there's folks out there looking for a 40 unit or 100 unit or mobile home park, but they are so few and far between that you don't want to mess with that sort of property class. In some areas, there are other kind of properties that work really well. You know, I live in Cincinnati. I'm actually closer to northern Kentucky and to the Indiana border than I am to the northern edge of the city. So I have some properties in Indiana, and so this is like rural southeastern Indiana. One of the kinds of properties over there that is just super duper popular is any kind of mobile home, as long as it's on at least 5 acres of land. It can be like a 1969 single wide with holes in it and raccoons coming out of it. As long as it's got 5 acres of land, somebody wants it. Somebody wants to live there. That's not something I would look for in the Cincinnati area, but in that area, that rural area over there, there's a lot of people who want those, so I would absolutely look at them as wholesale deals. They need to be in the type of areas that investors buy in. I rank neighborhoods from a 1 to a 5, where 1 is like a war zone, scary, don't get out of your car even in the daytime, lots of boarded up properties, and abandoned, not just vacant, abandoned properties. Number 2 is the border zone, which is your rental areas where lots of Section 8 tenants live. Those areas, about 80% tenants, 20% homeowners. Third area is the bread and butter or first-time home buyer area. You're getting close to 50-50 here with tenants and homeowners. So these are like your modest FHA, older homes, and very, very affordable, but pride of ownership in the neighborhood. Your move-up areas, which are next step up, you know, good school system, bigger properties, newer properties. These are the 3 areas in which your buyers work. And so these are the 3 areas in which you want to be looking for wholesale deals. You do not look for wholesale deals in war zones because you won't find a buyer. You do not look for wholesale deals in luxury areas because A, it's a little hard to find a junker in a luxury area, and B, even when you do find one, what you end up with is a ton of buyers saying, oh yeah, absolutely, that's like the best rehab ever. I swear I'm gonna go find the money. But when the money is $800,000 to buy it and then another couple $100,000 to fix it, it's the rare person who can come up with the money. Even if after putting $1 million in it, you can sell for $1.5 million, those are a little bit hard to sell. Condition of the property. It's going to be very rare that you find that deal that's basically turnkey. Condition on your wholesale deal is going to range from bad to horribly bad. Like really, really, really bad. You want to see the worst house I ever wholesale? Ugliest house I ever wholesale. Now think about that. 20 years, I've looked at 10,000 houses probably. I've wholesale 800 to 1,000 of them, and I know which one was the ugliest. This one right here. Yeah. Now be honest, how many would have just kept driving? Yeah, well, what if I told you I made $6,500 flipping that and never cleaned it up, never dealt with the fire damage, now do you still want to keep driving? Do you want to write down that address and find the owner? Yeah. Yes, this house had some fire damage. What it had more of was smoke damage. The fire was really limited to this room right here, which is why you see all the built-in siding right here. Yes, there was some significant water damage inside, but that was done by the firemen. And this is in a middle-end bread and butter neighborhood. It needed $43,000 worth of work to both make the city happy and actually get it renovated into a condition that somebody could move into. And then my buyer sold it for about $128,000. His total purchase price was $9,000, which means yes, I put it under contract for $2,500, which was the amount of the back taxes on the property. Because guess what? The insurance company paid off the loan. There was no mortgage on this property, and that's often true in fire damaged houses. There's no loan because the insurance company paid the loan off. And all you have to pay to get them is whatever the closing costs are. This property, this was not my deal. This is a deal that was done by one of my students out in Phoenix. Would you like to guess how much this property is worth in Phoenix, Arizona? How much would this property be worth in a move-up area in Indianapolis? 200, maybe if it's a really good move-up area, maybe 250 with a good school system. Yeah, in Phoenix, this is a $950,000 house. Yeah. So this was this gal's very first deal. I went out to the group there's a group in Phoenix called ASREA, Arizona REA. And I went out there and spoke to them and, they basically gave a presentation much like this one. And afterwards, a bunch of people came back to back and they slapped me on the back and told me what a great job I did and then told me, this doesn't work here. They said the problem with our market here is it's so hot and so competitive, and I hear that every place I go. Our market is so hot and so competitive. Cincinnati market is so hot and so competitive. Actually, I let people believe that there. But, literally, all these guys are coming to me, there's no, you can't wholesale around here, too much competition. And then this little gal comes up to me and she says, so is this gonna work? And I said, well, yes, if you do what I tell you to do and follow the systems I've laid out for you, it will work. And she said, you're sure it's gonna work? Because it has to work. You don't understand. Like, it's gotta work or it's gotta work. Because I just got fired from my job and I had no money. She said, I'm putting the last money I have down on this course right here, and it's gotta work. And I said, I am telling you, it will. Just do it step by step, and if it doesn't, you send that course back to me and I'll give you your money back. And she writes me about 6 weeks later and she tells me about this deal she did, where she made $51,000 on her first deal. I know. And so, some time passed and I get this email from her probably 3 months later, and she says, I don't know if it was just beginner's luck or what, but I cannot find another deal. And I said, well, this wasn't a stage, right? I said, just keep working these stages, just keep doing what you're doing until somebody else says yes. And she said, the thing is, like, nobody wants to give me that deal. Like, every deal I'm looking at, they only want me to make like $10,000 or $15,000. I know, there's such a thing as getting spoiled on your first time out. This is more typical of a move-up, high-end bread and butter move-up type of property. Now, this is a condominium, so it's not a single-family home. They don't sell for quite as much. I made $10,000 assigning this contract, and this was a bank-owned property. And a lot of people think you cannot assign contracts on bank-owned properties, but you can, and I'm going to explain how on Saturday morning. It takes about 45 minutes to explain it, and I will do that on Saturday morning. This is the biggest check I ever got in a wholesale deal. Everybody's got that story, right? Only most of the time the speaker acts like that's every deal. I wish this was every deal. Just do this deal 3 times a year and retire for the rest of the year. This is a house in a very high-end, yeah, I don't know what that is. It doesn't do anything. This is in a very high-end move-up area. It's actually adjacent to one of the luxury areas in Cincinnati. It was owned by an elderly lady who had been there for years and years and years and years and years. Her kids were all grown up and moved out, and she was on a walker. Notice how many stories that house has. All the bedrooms were upstairs. And her husband had dementia. So it had been listed for 2 or 3 years at $450,000, which was about $200,000 under market, but they hadn't had any offers. And when I went over to look at the house, I saw why. There was nothing in this house that didn't need to be touched. I mean, roof, windows, kitchen, baths, flooring, walls, deck, landscaping, everything was completely outdated. Now, by that time, the listing had expired, and I said, look, what are your plans here? What are you doing? And she said, well, I've already got a place to move. I just have to get this house sold before I can move there, and at this point, I don't even care anymore. I just need to, I need to get my husband into this other house before he can no longer remember that we've moved, right? Because apparently that's a thing, that sometimes people with dementia wake up and they don't know where they are, so they leave and start wandering around because they don't remember that they moved. So, long story short, I put this property under contract for $120,000. I agreed to pay a $10,000 tax lien that she had. I sold it to my buyer for $200,000 and made $70,000 as my assignment fee. $70,000 on this one deal, yeah. And I just haven't done a deal since then because, no one will do deals with me for more than $7,000 to $12,000. Yeah, this was two years ago at Christmas time. We closed on December 22nd, which was awesome. Yeah, I was like calling my friends going, what did you say you really wanted for Christmas? Hawaiian vacation, you say? No problem. Really, really good day. But, she got to move. The buyer put $250,000 into this house. $250,000 in rehab. He did an addition to it. Every wall was moved. Because, it's a 1970s house, so we have those really enclosed rooms that people don't like anymore, and he opened it all up so it all flows one room to another. It's beautiful when he was finished with it. And he sold it in 13 days on the market for $765,000. Yeah. It was, I really should put the after picture up here, because it wasn't this house when he sold it for $765,000. It was a completely different house. All right, so that's the property, right? We got a particular neighborhood, property type, and condition that we're looking for. We also have to be able to evaluate the property correctly, and that is really a matter of coming up with 2 numbers. Number 1, what is the after repaired value? What would this house be worth if it was fixed up? Number 2 is, what's it going to cost to fix it up? If you have those two figures, you always know what offer to make. If you are missing one or wrong on one, you're going to make the wrong offer, and you're not going to be able to sell your deal no matter how many people you tell about it. Let's talk about what the formula looks like. Some of you have seen this before. Those of you who have not need to write it down and memorize it and note vary from it, because that's how wholesalers get bad reputations. Is they come up here during buy-sell trade and they're saying, hey, this house is worth $150,000 and it only needs $10,000 in work, including a roof, windows, furnace, central air, plumbing, wiring, kitchen, bath, and carpet, and paint. And the experienced investors in the room are going, and also it's only worth $90 fixed up, right? And you look like you either don't know what you're doing, or a lot of people assume that you do know what you're doing and you're lying on purpose. And that makes you look like a bad guy. So this is a skill you must get. Remember, the goal here is leave enough room on the table for your buyer that he wants to write you this check, which means you're going to sell for no more than the after repair value times 0.7 minus the repair costs. ARV times 0.7 minus the repair costs. If we had 2 hours, I could teach you how to find after repair value on any house, including one with no comps. Not rocket science. If we had another 2 hours, we could go over all of the different kinds of repairs a house could need. You know, there's only like 40 things that can go wrong with a house. It seems really overwhelming when you're walking through some really ugly junker property that also smells bad, to boot. And you're like, everything's wrong, I don't know where to start. Replacing a kitchen that needs to be replaced because it's from the 1950s costs exactly the same as replacing a kitchen that's not there because somebody took it out. It's not about what am I looking at, it's about what is it going to cost to put it the way it should be, right? So, you got to know these things. You got to know how to find the ARV and the repair costs, because that is your sale price. Of course, your offer is going to be ARV times 0.7 minus repair costs minus your profit. That's what you're going to offer. Now, there is no particular profit that you are going to get on every deal. It's all about what you can negotiate. If you come up with a price for your MAO of $150 and you've worked in $10,000 for yourself, and the seller says, well, I'm not taking less than $152, are you probably going to do that deal anyway? Yeah, because what just happened? You're going to make $8,000 instead of $10,000, right? I'm going to give you a number that I hesitate to give because you're gonna write it down wrong and you're gonna misquote me later, but I'm going to tell you first what it is. On average, wholesalers that I work with throughout the United States are making about 5% of whatever the median house price is in their area as their wholesale fee. Let me say that again. On average, so not every single deal, it's not the exact same amount every single deal. They are making about 5% of the median house price in their area, not that particular house, the median house price in the area, as their wholesale fees. So the median house price in Cincinnati is like $120 to $130, depending on which number you believe. Our average profit is about $6,500 to $7,000 per project. If you took a whole year's worth of deals, added them up, and divided by the number of deals, it would be between $6,500 and $7,000, and yours will be a tiny, tiny bit higher than